everybody, and welcome to Reed's Reads, Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, everybody, I'm here to, of course, review Amazing Spider-Man 13, aka 907, as well as Spider-Man The Lost Hunt by J.M. DeMatteis, and, of course, give a little hint of what happened in Venom 13 of the current volume that's leading to Dark Web. Yes, you'll see a lot of Dark Web sprinkled upon my review, but that's what makes it so fun, because that's why you're here, right, guys? No, you're not. You just think I look funny in front of people. Pete's the better one. Chi-Town Spidey does all the best written reviews and a few other things. But you know what? I still try to do my best. So let's get into the pros of Amazing Spider-Man 13. So one thing I have to say is this issue is very brutal. This really does feel like the old school days when the Hobgoblin was first fighting Spider-Man. Many people don't seem to remember, but the battles between Roderick Kingsley and the Hobgoblin, even when Ned Leeds was in charge, Lefty Doohan was battling Spider-Man back during Roger Stern Line, the Hobgoblin was very merciless. He attacked hugely, working on everything else, attacking Spider-Man. Here you really see that double team going as Kingsley uses the brainwash Ned Leeds as the double Hobgoblin attack. And you actually feel really bad for Peter, too, because believe it or not, his glider, aka Bug, which technically is a functioning AI, sacrifices itself to save him. And Peter is really kind of at the edge here getting defeated if it's not for Norman Osborn coming in the brand new Golden Goblin suit to win the day and use some of the new powers, because since he made most of all the Hobgoblin technology back when he was the Green Goblin, he really is able to counter it. It really leads to a great battle, and I really like all the different back and forth, as well as the psychological pieces that happen as Kingsley reveals that he was behind using the Winkler device to make Ned so paranoid that Norman really wanted the baby Winston and was doing everything to Betty, and it was all fake. I also love the twist where they slowly peel away the information here, showing that it's actually, of course, Ashley Kafka, aka the Queen Goblin. Yes, Queen Goblin, not the Goblin King. We'll talk about her. Remember, Dark Web talk, guys. On being actually in charge of Winkler and how she manipulated herself, Roderick Kingsley. It works as a great little story plot, and actually seeing all that buildup that happened back at the end of course, during Ben Reilly's run there doing Spider-Man Beyond, as we see her actually seeing, as she says, bringing Norman's Osborn sins back to him. Because we see Norman as he's getting a lot more kind of that third personality kind of coming in with the Golden Goblin identity. It's a really good issue, as well as the mystery of the fact that she's been manipulating, of course, Osborn's employees for the suit to get him back on the glider, as he said. You know, if I get back on that glider, I don't think I would have gone. It's really well done, but unfortunately, it leads to some of the cons. While it really flips the head around with everything that happened, we did see everything coming with, of course, Ashley's revelation at the end, really, since the issue started, including the alternate cover, which had her actual hand holding the Hobgoblin mask. So the truth is, even though everything gets revealed, and it definitely shows where the story was leading to, we kind of all saw it coming from a mile away, as well as some of the pieces here, too, is the fact that Betty was once again keeping secrets, and even though Ashley was manipulating both her and Ned to think that not to worry about it, it's kind of like, geez, nobody really does care about the leads, do they? Oh, they're kind of in trouble, but I'm not going to talk about it. You know, they're kind of acting a little funny, but why do we need to worry about that? As well as the fact that we worked here with Peter as everything happened with the costume, as we see, as much as the costume has saved him a bit with the bug glider and a few other things, it's not really the best one, especially when battling two Hobgoblins. And why we do see Peter trying to do a lot of tricks of the trade to beat both of them, he's holding back, knowing that Ned is brainwashed, and he's really kind of focused on Kingsley. So it really does throw him up. But Peter, back in the day, as we know, could have survived a lot of these with this double Hobgoblin attack. Why it's not horrible things, too, the fact that it's really to get Norman back in under the Goblin identity, and the fact that Peter is so messed up, and once again unmasked, even though he's so badly bruised and smoked, it's hard to see what he looks like and a few other things, and the fact that Betty, of course, raises it up. Otherwise, it was a very good story. After all that, the artwork by John Romita Jr. and everything else done too, it's going to get a solid B from me. I really, really did enjoy this issue. It's actually been pretty good, and it has a nice little conclusion. As I said, they're peeling away everything, getting ready for Dark Web here to start with both the seeing kind of the side part here with the Queen Goblin, as well as everything. It's getting pretty. It says Peter's also noticing a lot of things have been bothering him lately seem to magically disappear. The debt collector is missing. His job was pretty secure, but everything for Norman was kind of set up, but also some of Norman's issues have disappeared. Everything's set up between the things with, of course, that was happening with some of the supporting class, and also seem to be pushing to the background. And Peter's noticing that something's really odd is going on. So it's nice to get all that too, but it doesn't save the main storyline really from being all that. And I'm just kind of glad it's over, and the fact that we finally can continue and move into Dark Web. And speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about Venom 13. Those who have not been reading the current series too, as we know, Dylan Brock has become, of course, Venom, and of course, as we've learned too through everything, all these different ones from Bedlam to Mockler are actually just different aspects of Eddie Brock, who's of course at the center after what happened to King in Black storyline, and the fact that Dylan gets thrown into limbo, where of course the real Goblin Queen, aka Madeline Pryor, another dark web main player in all this, actually decides to make a deal with him and get him out of limbo and get him out of all the craziness that's been happening to him since the series kind of kicked off back at earlier this year. So while we see a little thing, we see why Dylan and the symbiote are a little bit more opposed to actually go after Spider-Man again, as she basically makes a deal and she's manipulating them both thanks to all the things that are happening with the Dark Eddie Brock personalities with the other symbionts, and of course a little bit of the fact that Dylan, being a teenager and it's kind of a little bit more manipulable with the mind tricks, is getting caught in this to, of course, just be for survival and just wants to help his dad. So Madeline is definitely playing those daddy and kid factors that the character is well known for. So it's a nice little piece there, guys, with a little bit of the spoiler, but now at least explains why Venom is coming into the storyline with Dark Web. However, does really our buddy Chasm, Ben Reilly, be aware of it? We're not sure, but that's also one of the part of the mysteries we'll learn in Dark Web. So with that all said, guys, let's brush ourselves away from the main 616 and Dark Web and all that fun stuff and get to the Spider-Man mini, of course, Spider-Man The Lost Hunt, which takes place during Peter after he lost his powers back in the mid-90s in Portland with his very pregnant wife, Mary Jane, as J.M. DeMatteis and, of course, Edward Musas go ahead and do the artwork, delivering us an untold tale of Spider-Man during these days. And let's get to the pros. First of all, I just have to say this story does not pull any punches. It gets you right on the first issue with seeing Kraven the Hunter kind of pulled out of the gravestone, and of course seeing Gregor, the man who trained him, and a lot of all the other different hunters in continuity, really just putting the stalker doc kind of piece in. It kind of leads to kind of not only a kind of cat and mouse, but a very dark psychological thriller, which of course Kraven and of course Gregor, who's his mentor and trainer and teacher, is setting up for Peter. We really see a lot of this happen as Peter's really just trying to have a normal life and kind of move on from being Spider-Man, but how it's still pulling him, and the fact that Gregor is manipulating him, and how Mary Jane's inner dialogue is just great. She comes across as a very concerned wife, a mother-to-be, and just knows that things with Peter, she knows if she forces him, it'll lead to lots of trouble. And I also like showing a little bit more of their Portland life. The miniseries Spider-Man The Final Chapter really never got into their lives established in Portland. Here, JM is really pulling up those layers to see what kind of lives they were. And the truth was, they needed these jobs as well as careers that actually have more of an airy life, especially when Mary Jane says her theater students, she needs them more than they need her because she sees all the potential, but it kind of gives her that more down-to-earth feeling of inspiration. He really just captures the voices of all the characters in here, including some of the sub-characters that we'll see unleash here. And the psychological and dark parts that's unleashed by the art is fantastic in Lost Years, as well as the backup explaining they're going to come why Gregor decided to all of a sudden magically split away and go to the Kazar miniseries back in the mid-90s, and why he disappeared after Grim Hunt had ended, and of course Vladimir Kravinoff had died, the Grim Hunter, and why he swore revenge and does not. It's such a great story, especially the fact that Gregor knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. It's just a really good story, and I can't say enough for it. It grabs your attention, the drama's there, a little bit of the comedy's there, and it just shows some great storytelling by J.M. and Messias on this too. It is getting a solid A+ from me. I was very, very happy with this issue. I think it was a great one. It makes me want to come back to more. I want to know the mystery. I really want to know what Gregor's end game is here and how it's going to do it, because as we know, Peter will, of course, accomplish this, which will lead to back to, of course, Revelations, where Peter becomes Spider-Man again after the death of Ben Reilly the first time. So it's really a great series. So some very good, solid stories, guys, here with a solid B for the end of the Hobgoblin Storyline, as well as a Prelude to Dark Web. And of course, a solid A here for The Lost Hunt. Great Spider-Man books this week, and I'm really looking forward to see what has to go here as we get closer to the next set of the holidays. And I know, guys, you are done trying to listen to me, and I know it is. Thank you for on this journey, because I want to thank, of course, my buddies Chi-Town Spotty and Dark Mark for actually all the reviews they do here. I don't say it enough, and I am doing that more in my reviews as time on. Also, this is going to be kind of the end of the current background that we've seen here from my reviews here up until now. As Dark Web starts, I've decided Then I will go into a new introduction in the background before I head over to my next one once Dark Web is over at the beginning of 2023. So I hope you guys done it. Definitely leave comments what you think about it, and I will be more to take up that concept. And for more, guys, check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com for all your amazing news, podcast information, and more spider history and amazing interviews. And of course, check out our Discord if you'd like to join in the conversation. I'm out of here, everyone. I hope everybody stays warm as we have the holiday season moving us closer as December and Thanksgiving are on its way. And of course, you'll see us back here next time for more Spider-Man reviews. I'll see ya on the crawl space.